The council chamber smelled like old wood and older power. Raven stood at the center of the marble floor with her head bowed and her hands clasped, waiting for the 5 council members to finish their deliberation. She'd been standing here for 20 minutes already, listening to them debate her fate like she wasn't even in the room. She's shown no signs of ranking above Omega, Elder Silas said, his voice carrying the weight of his 70 years. No alpha command, no beta strength, no gamma tactical abilities, just an ordinary wolf with no discernible talents. She's 24, Elder Mara countered. Sometimes late bloomers develop ranking abilities in their mid-20s. We should give her more time. We've given her 24 years, Elder Thomas sounded impatient. At what point do we accept that some wolves are simply meant to serve rather than lead? There's no shame in being Omega rank. Someone has to fill those positions. Raven kept her expression neutral, but inside, her wolf snarled with frustration. She wasn't Omega. She knew she wasn't. She felt power inside her, vast and ancient and utterly certain. But every time she tried to access it, tried to let it surface, something blocked her, like running into an invisible wall, like her wolf was trapped behind glass she couldn't break. The girl works hard, Elder Marcus said. She's reliable, follows orders, never causes trouble. That's valuable in its own way. I vote we confirm her as permanent Omega rank and assign her to administrative duties in the pack house. Seconded, Elder Silas agreed. Raven felt her stomach drop. Permanent Omega rank. No chance for advancement. No opportunity to prove she was more than what they saw. Just endless years of filing paperwork and taking orders from wolves who treated her like she was invisible. All in favor? Elder Silas called. 4 hands rose. Only Elder Mara kept hers down, her expression troubled. The vote is decided. Raven Shadowmere, you are hereby confirmed as Omega rank of the Silver Moon Pack. You will report to Pack Administrator Lynn tomorrow morning to begin your new duties. Elder Silas's voice was formal, final. You may go. Raven bowed. Omega's always bowed and left the council chamber with her head high and her eyes burning with unshed tears. She made it to her small quarters in the servants' wing before she let herself cry. 24 years. 24 years of being told she was ordinary. 24 years of feeling power she couldn't access. 24 years of knowing, absolutely knowing, that she was meant for more than this. But knowing didn't matter when the council said otherwise. She was lying on her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling and trying to process her future as a permanent Omega, when pain lanced through her left shoulder blade, sharp, burning, like someone was carving into her skin with a heated knife. Raven gasped and rolled off the bed, stumbling to the small mirror mounted on her wall. She twisted to look at her back, pulling down the shoulder of her shirt, and froze. There was a mark on her shoulder blade, not a scar or a tattoo, but something that glowed with soft silver light. Intricate lines formed a pattern she'd never seen before, a crescent moon surrounded by stars, with ancient runes woven throughout. It was beautiful, it was terrifying, and it was absolutely impossible. Marks like this appeared on high-ranking wolves, alphas, betas, sometimes gammas, physical manifestations of power and position. Raven was Omega. Omegas didn't have marks. Omegas didn't have power. But there it was, glowing on her skin like it had always been there, just waiting to be revealed. Raven touched the mark with shaking fingers and felt power surge through her. Real power. The kind that made her wolf howl with recognition and relief. The kind that made the invisible wall she'd been hitting for 24 years suddenly feel paper thin. She pushed against it, pushed with all the frustration and rage and certainty she'd been suppressing for years. And the wall cracked. Not broke, not shattered, just cracked. But through that crack came knowledge, understanding, memory of something that had been hidden from her. Someone had suppressed her mark. Someone had deliberately blocked her power. Someone had been keeping her ordinary when she was anything but. And she was going to find out who. The next morning, Raven reported to Administrator Lynn as ordered, but she wore a high-necked shirt that covered the mark on her shoulder blade, and she kept her power carefully contained. She needed information before she revealed what was happening. Needed to understand what the mark meant before she confronted whoever had hidden it. Lynn was a beta in her 50s, efficient and no nonsense. She handed Raven a stack of files without preamble. These need to be organized by date and filed in the archives. 3rd floor, East Wing. Should take you about a week if you're diligent. Yes, administrator. Raven took the files and headed toward the archives, her mind racing. The archives. Perfect. If she wanted to understand what her mark meant, ancient pack records would be the place to start. She spent the morning filing documents like she was supposed to, establishing a pattern of obedience. But during her lunch break, she started searching, looking for records about ranking marks, about suppression magic, about wolves who outranked the council. What she found made her blood run cold. There were gaps in the records, entire sections missing, dates that should have documented births and deaths and ranking ceremonies just gone, and what remained had been altered. She could see where different handwriting took over mid-document, where pages had been carefully removed and replaced. Someone had been editing the pack's history, systematically, deliberately. Raven dug deeper, searching for anything about ranking marks. She found a book on pack hierarchy, dusty and forgotten on a bottom shelf. The pages were yellowed with age, the text written in formal script that was almost archaic. The celestial mark, she read quietly. The highest ranking symbol in pack hierarchy appears only on those destined to rule all packs, not merely one. Bearers of the celestial mark outrank alphas, council members, and all traditional hierarchy. They are chosen by the moon goddess herself to lead and unite. Raven's hand moved unconsciously to her shoulder blade. The mark there pulsed with warmth, responding to being named. Celestial mark, chosen by the moon goddess, destined to rule all packs. She kept reading. The celestial mark can be suppressed through dark magic, but such suppression requires constant renewal and weakens over time. If a celestial mark bearer goes 24 years without renewal of the suppression, the mark will begin to emerge naturally. Full manifestation occurs within 1 week of initial emergence, 24 years. She just turned 24, and the mark had appeared last night. Someone had been suppressing her celestial mark her entire life. Someone had been renewing the spell every year to keep her powerless, and they just missed their deadline. What are you reading? A voice made Raven jump. She spun to find Elder Mara standing in the archive entrance, her expression curious. Just pack history. Trying to understand hierarchy better, Raven closed the book quickly. Too quickly. Elder Mara's eyes narrowed. She moved closer, her gaze sharp. May I see? It's nothing important, let me see the book, Raven. It wasn't a request. Raven handed over the book with shaking hands. Elder Mara opened it to the page about celestial marks, read for a moment, then looked at Raven with an expression that was equal parts shock and something that looked like relief. Show me, Elder Mara said quietly. Show me your shoulder. I don't know what you don't lie to me. I can see it glowing through your shirt. Elder Mara's voice was urgent now. Show me, please. Raven pulled down her collar slowly, revealing the celestial mark. It was brighter than it had been last night, the silver glow more pronounced. The runes seemed to shift and change as Elder Mara stared at them. Oh, thank the goddess, Elder Mara whispered. I thought I hoped but I wasn't sure. She looked at Raven with tears in her eyes. How long has it been visible? Since last night. After the council meeting, Raven pulled her collar back up. What's happening to me? What does this mean? It means you're in terrible danger. Elder Mara grabbed Raven's arm. Come with me, quickly. We need to go somewhere private, somewhere the other council members won't think to look. She pulled Raven through corridors and downstairs, moving with surprising speed for a woman in her 60s. They ended up in a small garden behind the pack house, overgrown and clearly neglected. Elder Mara cast a quick privacy spell. Raven felt the magic settle around them like a bubble before finally releasing her arm. 24 years ago, Elder Mara began without preamble. You were born to the previous pack leaders. Your parents were Alpha King Eldrick and Luna Sira. They ruled not just Silvermoon Pack, but all 5 territories. They were beloved, powerful, and they had enemies. Raven's world tilted. That's impossible. I'm nobody. I'm Omega rank. My parents were murdered when you were 6 months old. Elder Mara's voice was hard, along with most of their loyal supporters. The other 4 council members, Silas, Thomas, Marcus, and Victoria, they orchestrated the coup. They wanted power, wanted control, and they couldn't have that while your parents lived. But why would they keep me alive? Why not kill me too? Because you're protected by ancient law. The celestial mark appears at birth. Killing someone marked by the moon goddess brings a curse on the entire pack. They couldn't risk it. Elder Mara's expression was grim. So they found a dark magic user who could suppress your mark, make you appear ordinary, keep your power locked away so you'd never threaten their rule for 24 years. Yes, the spell required annual renewal, done on your birthday when you were too young to remember or understand. But something must have gone wrong this year. Maybe the magic user died. Maybe they simply forgot. But the suppression failed, and your mark is emerging. Raven felt like she was drowning in information. Her parents were Alpha King and Luna. She was supposed to rule all 5 territories. The council had murdered her family and stolen her birthright. Why are you telling me this? She asked quietly. You're one of them, one of the council. I was against the coup from the beginning. I tried to stop them. Failed. Elder Mara's voice was bitter. They forced me to participate through blood oath. If I reveal their crime to anyone who doesn't already know, the oath kills me. But you're figuring it out yourself. I can answer your questions, confirm what you discover, but I can't tell you outright without dying. That's convenient. That's how blood oaths work. They're incredibly specific. Elder Mara grabbed Raven's shoulders. Listen to me carefully. Once your mark is fully manifested, once the suppression is completely broken, you'll have full access to your celestial power. You'll outrank everyone. The council will lose their authority over you automatically, and then they'll try to kill you. Blood oath or not, ancient curse or not, they've held power for 24 years. They won't give it up without a fight. Elder Mara's grip tightened. You need protection. You need allies. And you need to be ready when your power fully manifests. How long do I have? According to the book, 1 week from first emergence. Your mark appeared last night, which means you have 6 days. Elder Mara released her and began pacing. 6 days to prepare. 6 days to find allies. 6 days before everything changes. What do I do? Raven felt panic rising. I'm one person against the entire council. How am I supposed to? You're not one person. You're the rightful ruler of 5 territories. There are wolves out there who remember your parents, who've been waiting for you to reclaim your throne. Elder Mara stopped pacing and looked at Raven directly. And there's someone you need to meet. Someone who's been searching for you for 24 years. Who? The Alpha King of the Northlands. Kale Stormwind. He was your father's closest friend and ally. When your parents were murdered, he swore he'd find you and help you reclaim your birthright. Elder Mara pulled out a phone. Technology was rare in Packlands, used only for emergencies. I've been in contact with him secretly for years, feeding him information, helping him search. And now I can finally tell him we found you. Raven watched as Elder Mara typed a message, watched her send it, watched as a response came back almost immediately. He's coming, Elder Mara said. He'll be here by tomorrow night. Until then, you need to act normal. Go to your job, follow orders. Don't let anyone see your mark. Can you do that? I don't know if I can do any of this. You can. You're your parents' daughter. You're stronger than you know. Elder Mara squeezed her hand. And you're not alone anymore. Acting normal was harder than Raven expected. She went to her filing job. She smiled and nodded at Administrator Lin. She ate in the servants' dining hall with the other Omegas. She pretended everything was fine. But inside, her power was growing. She could feel it building with every hour, pushing against the weakening suppression spell. Her wolf was getting stronger, more present, more real. and the mark on her shoulder blade glowed brighter every time she looked at it. By the second day, she could access small amounts of celestial power. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make filing go faster, to make her movements smoother, to sense the emotions of wolves around her. And what she sensed from the council members was fear. Elder Silas kept looking at her during pack meetings. Not obviously, just quick glances, assessing, checking, like he was waiting for something to happen. Elder Marcus watched her too, his expression calculating. Elder Thomas seemed nervous, jumpy, constantly checking his phone. They knew. Somehow, they knew the suppression was failing. On the third night, Raven woke to footsteps outside her door. Quiet, deliberate, someone trying not to be heard. She lay perfectly still, her hand sliding under her pillow where she'd hidden the small knife Elder Mara had given her. The doorknob turned slowly. The door opened with barely a whisper. A figure slipped into her room, moving toward her bed with clear intent. Raven waited until they were close enough. Then she struck. She rolled off the bed, bringing the knife up in a defensive posture. In the dim light from the window, she recognized her attacker, Elder Thomas, with a syringe in his hand. "You should still be asleep," he hissed. "The sleeping draft I put in your dinner was enough to knock out 3 wolves. I didn't eat dinner." Raven's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "What's in the syringe?" "Something to help you. To put you back to sleep for a very long time." Thomas moved closer. "We should have killed you years ago. Ancient law or not, curse or not. You're too dangerous to let live, because I have the celestial mark." Thomas froze. "You know, I know everything. The coup, the murders, the suppression, all of it. Then you understand why this is necessary." Thomas lunged. Raven's celestial power surged forward instinctively. She felt it flow through her, felt her wolf take partial control, felt something fundamental shift in her body. She didn't just dodge the syringe. She caught Thomas's wrist and twisted. The syringe clattered to the floor. Thomas gasped in pain, dropping to his knees. "You can't," he started. "You're Omega. You don't have the strength to." "I'm not Omega." Raven's voice came out layered, echoing with power. "I'm celestial, and you've been suppressing my power for 24 years. Did you really think I'd stay weak forever?" Thomas's eyes widened in genuine fear. "The others need to know. The others already know. That's why you're here. That's why you tried to drug me." Raven released his wrist and stepped back. "But you're too late. My mark is manifesting. My power is returning. And in 3 days, I'm going to claim what's rightfully mine. You'll never survive that long. We'll kill you first. You can try." Raven smiled, and it wasn't kind. "But I'm not alone anymore." The door burst open. Elder Mara stood there with a man Raven had never seen before. He was massive, easily 6'5", with shoulders that filled the doorway, dark hair, ice blue eyes, and power that radiated from him in waves. "Alpha King Kale Stormwind." It had to be. "Thomas." Kale's voice was deadly quiet. "Step away from her, now." Thomas scrambled to his feet, looking between Raven and Kale with mounting panic. "You can't be here. You have no authority in this pack." "I have every authority when it comes to protecting the rightful celestial heir." Kale moved into the room with predatory grace. "And you have exactly 10 seconds to leave this territory before I rip your throat out for attempted murder. The council will never let you." 5 seconds. Thomas ran. Actually ran, scrambling out the door and disappearing into the corridors. Kale watched him go, then turned to Raven. His expression softened immediately. "Princess Raven, I've been searching for you for 24 years. I'm not a princess. I'm just." Raven stopped. That wasn't true anymore. "I'm still figuring out what I am. You're your parents' daughter." "That's what you are." Kale moved closer, careful, like she was a spooked animal. "May I see the mark?" Raven pulled down her collar. The celestial mark blazed bright enough to light the room. Kale stared at it with something like reverence. "It's real," he whispered. "All these years of searching, hoping, and it's real." He looked at her face. "You look like your mother. Same eyes, same stubborn chin." "Did you really know my parents?" Your father was my best friend. Your mother was like a sister to me. When they died, Kale's voice roughened. When they died, part of me died too. And I swore I'd find you. Swore I'd help you reclaim your birthright. Swore I'd make the ones responsible pay. Elder Mara said my mark will fully manifest in 3 more days. Yes, and when it does, you'll have full access to your celestial power. You'll outrank every wolf in 5 territories, including me. Kale smiled slightly. It's going to be magnificent and terrifying. Are you ready? No, but I don't think I have a choice. You always have a choice. You can walk away, hide, build a new life somewhere else. Kale's expression was serious. But if you stay, if you fight, you need to understand what you're facing. The council has had 24 years to consolidate power. They have allies, resources, dark magic users on their payroll. They won't go quietly. I want them to pay. Raven was surprised by the venom in her own voice. They murdered my parents, stole my childhood, made me believe I was nothing. I want them to face justice. Then I'll help you. Kale held out his hand. But we do this smart. We gather allies. We build a case. We make sure when we strike decisively. Raven took his hand. The moment their skin touched, she felt something click into place. Not a mate bond, she knew what those felt like from watching other wolves. Something different. Like recognition on a soul-deep level. Like finding family she'd never known she had. What was that? She asked. Pack bond. Not romantic. Familial. Kale looked surprised. Your father and I did a blood oath when we were young. Swore to be brothers in all but blood. To protect each other's families. That oath must have passed to you when he died. So you're what? My uncle? By oath if not blood. Which means I'm bound to protect you. To help you. To support you in reclaiming what's yours. Kale's grip tightened. And I take that oath very seriously. Elder Mara cleared her throat. As touching as this is, we need to move. Thomas will have told the others by now. They'll be planning their next attempt. Raven isn't safe here, then we leave. Tonight, Kale looked at Raven. Pack whatever you need. We're going to my territory. You'll be safe there while your mark fully manifests. What about the pack? What about all the wolves here who don't know what the council did? We'll come back. With allies and evidence and enough power to force the council to answer for their crimes. Kale's expression was grim. But first, we keep you alive. The journey to Northland's territory took 2 days. They traveled carefully, using hidden paths and avoiding main roads. Kale's warriors surrounded them, a dozen massive wolves who moved with military precision. Elder Mara came too, having finally broken free of the pack that had held her captive for 24 years. Raven spent the journey learning. Kale told her about her parents, about their vision for united territories, about the policies they'd implemented, about the enemies they'd made. They believed packs should cooperate rather than compete, Kale explained as they stopped to rest. They wanted to end the territorial wars, share resources, create a real society instead of fractured groups fighting over scraps, and the council killed them for that. The council wanted power. Traditional hierarchy where strong packs dominated weak ones, where alphas ruled without oversight. Kale's voice was hard. Your parents' vision threatened that, so they eliminated them. Did anyone try to stop it? Many tried. Most died. A few managed to escape and have been living in hiding. Kale gestured to his warriors. Several of these wolves served your parents. They've been waiting for a chance to restore the rightful order. Raven looked at the warriors with new eyes. These wolves had been loyal to her parents for 24 years, had been waiting for her to return. The weight of that loyalty felt crushing. On the 4th day after her mark's emergence, they reached Northland's territory. The pack house was massive, built into the side of a mountain with views that stretched for miles. Wolves came out to greet them, bowing when they saw Raven. Not just respectful nods, deep, formal bows, the kind reserved for royalty. They know who I am, Raven said quietly to Kale. I've been preparing them for years. Told them the rightful celestial heir would return someday. Told them we'd help restore order. Kale smiled. They've been waiting as long as I have. Raven was given quarters that were grander than anything she'd ever experienced. Spacious rooms with actual furniture, windows overlooking mountains, a bed larger than her entire previous sleeping space. But she couldn't enjoy any of it, because her mark was burning. By the 5th day, the pain was constant. The celestial mark glowed bright enough to see through her clothes. Power surged through her in waves, making her skin feel like it was on fire. Her wolf was clawing at the surface, desperate to fully emerge. Dr. Ashby, the pack healer, examined her with worry in her eyes. The full manifestation is happening faster than expected, probably because the suppression was so strong for so long. When it breaks completely, there's going to be a massive power surge. Dr. Ashby met Raven's eyes. You need to be somewhere safe, somewhere you can't hurt anyone accidentally. How bad is it going to be? Celestial manifestation hasn't happened in over a century. I don't have exact data, but based on historical records, Dr. Ashby paused. It's going to be intense. You might shift involuntarily. Your power might lash out at anyone nearby. You'll need to be isolated. Kale, who'd been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. There's a ceremonial chamber deep in the mountain, built specifically for high-power manifestations. It's warded, isolated, and strong enough to contain whatever happens. Then that's where I need to be. Raven could barely speak through the pain. How long? Hours. Maybe less. Dr. Ashby prepared an injection. This will help with the pain. Dampen it enough that you can walk. The injection helped, but not much. Raven made her way to the ceremonial chamber with Kale supporting her weight. Elder Mara followed, and several of Kale's most trusted warriors created a perimeter. The chamber was carved from living stone, with ancient runes etched into every surface. Power hummed in the air, old and patient. Your parents were manifested here, Kale said quietly as he helped Raven to the center. Both of them. This chamber has seen celestial power before. It can handle whatever happens. What if I can't handle it? What if the power is too much? Then we'll help you. We'll be right outside, ready to come in if you need us. Kale squeezed her hand. But Raven, I think you're stronger than you know. I think you've been surviving suppressed celestial power for 24 years. Handling it fully manifested might actually be easier. Raven wanted to believe that, but as another wave of pain crashed through her, she wasn't sure. Kale and the others left, sealing the chamber behind them. Raven was alone with ancient stone and growing power and a mark that felt like it was trying to burn through her skin. She lasted maybe 10 minutes before the dam broke. The suppression spell shattered completely. 24 years of blocked power surged forward all at once. Raven screamed as her celestial mark blazed with light so bright it was blinding. As her wolf tore free of the last restraints, as power flooded every cell in her body, she shifted involuntarily. But this wasn't a normal shift. This was transformation on a fundamental level. She felt her bones reshape, her muscles expand, her senses sharpen to impossible levels. Felt power that made the air itself shimmer. When the shift completed, Raven stood on four legs and looked at her reflection in the polished stone walls. Her wolf was silver, not gray, not white, true silver, like moonlight given form. Massive, easily twice the size of a normal wolf, and her eyes glowed with the same light as her celestial mark. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was exactly what she was always meant to be. Raven threw back her head and howled. The sound echoed through the chamber, through the mountain, probably through the entire territory. A howl of recognition, of power finally claimed, of a rightful ruler announcing her presence. Outside the chamber, she heard answering howls, hundreds of wolves responding to their celestial air. Raven shifted back to human form. The change was smooth, effortless, natural in a way it had never been before. Her celestial mark still glowed, but the pain was gone, replaced by certainty, strength, absolute confidence in who and what she was. She was Princess Raven, daughter of Alpha King Eldrick and Luna Sera, bearer of the celestial mark, rightful ruler of 5 territories, and she was done hiding. The chamber door opened. Kale stood there, his expression a mixture of awe and pride. Everyone in 3 territories heard that howl. Good. Raven's voice came out strong, layered with power. Let them all know. Let the council know. I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending to be ordinary. I'm claiming what's mine. The council will fight. Let them. Raven stepped out of the chamber, her head high. I have right and power and truth on my side. They have lies and stolen authority and 24 years of crimes. Who do you think is going to win? Kale smiled. I'd bet on you any day. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Raven trained with Kale's warriors, learning to control her celestial power. She studied pack law with Elder Mara, understanding the exact extent of her authority. She met with wolves who'd served her parents, heard their stories, learned what her family had stood for, and she built an army. Wolves came from all 5 territories. Some remembered her parents, some had suffered under the council's rule, some simply recognized the celestial mark and knew what it meant. They pledged loyalty, offered support, swore they'd help her reclaim her throne. Within 2 weeks, Raven had 300 warriors ready to march. The council predictably tried to fight back. They sent assassins, dark magic users, mercenaries hired to eliminate the threat. All of them failed. Raven was no longer the suppressed, ordinary girl they'd controlled for 24 years. She was fully manifested celestial, with power that outranked every wolf alive. The assassins couldn't get near her. The dark magic bounced off her natural shields. The mercenaries took one look at her silver wolf and ran, and with each failed attempt, more wolves rallied to her cause. More territories declared support. More packs acknowledged her as the rightful ruler. By the 3rd week, the council was isolated. Silver Moon Pack, the territory they'd stolen, was surrounded by Raven's forces. No one going in or out. No supplies, no reinforcements, no escape. Raven stood on a ridge overlooking the packlands with Kale at her side. Are you ready? He asked quietly. I've been ready for 24 years. Raven's eyes blazed silver. Let's end this. The confrontation happened in the same council chamber where Raven had been confirmed as Omega 3 weeks earlier. But everything was different now. Raven walked in not as a submissive supplicant, but as a ruler. Her celestial mark blazed on her shoulder, visible to everyone. Her silver wolf was barely contained beneath her skin, and behind her stood 300 warriors ready to enforce her authority. The 4 remaining council members, Silas, Marcus, Victoria, and a newly terrified replacement for Thomas who'd fled, sat in their elevated seats looking small and trapped. Council members, Raven's voice carried throughout the chamber. You are charged with high treason, with the murder of Alpha King Eldrick and Luna Sierra, with the theft of celestial authority, with the suppression of a marked heir, with 24 years of unlawful rule. How do you plead? This is absurd, Elder Silas tried to bluster. You have no authority to. I have the celestial mark. Raven's power filled the room, making every wolf present drop to their knees except Kale. I outrank you. I outrank everyone. And you know it. Silence. Heavy and damning. We did what we had to do, Elder Marcus finally said. Your parents were weak. Their policies would have destroyed us all. My parents believed in cooperation over domination, in justice over power, in leading instead of ruling. Raven moved closer to the council seats. And you killed them for it, murdered hundreds of loyal wolves, stole a 6-month-old baby and suppressed her power for 24 years. All so you could have power you never earned and never deserved. We deserve to rule, Elder Victoria spat. We're strong. We're your criminals. Raven's voice was flat. And under pack law, the penalty for murdering a celestial-marked ruler is death. For all conspirators, the council members went pale. Around the chamber, wolves who'd been loyal to them were backing away, realizing the extent of the crimes they'd supported. Wait, Elder Silas held up his hands. Wait, we can negotiate. We can share power. You can face justice. Raven looked at Kale. These wolves murdered my parents, stole my childhood, made me believe I was nothing for 24 years. What does pack law say should happen to them? Public execution, Kale's voice was hard. So every wolf in 5 territories knows the price of betraying a celestial heir. So no one ever tries it again. No. Victoria lunged from her seat, shifting mid-leap, her wolf emerging with teeth bared. She never reached Raven. 3 warriors intercepted her, bringing her down hard. She shifted back, bleeding and defeated. Take them to the cells, Raven ordered. The execution will be tomorrow at dawn. Every pack in 5 territories will attend. Everyone will see what happens to those who think power matters more than law. As the council members were dragged away, Victoria still struggling, the others resigned. Elder Mara approached Raven. You did it, she said quietly. You reclaimed your throne, brought them to justice, honored your parents' memory. It's not over yet. The execution, the rebuilding, creating the unified territories my parents envisioned. Raven looked around the chamber. This is just the beginning. Then let it be a good beginning. Let it be the start of something better. Elder Mara smiled. Your parents would be so proud. The executions happened at dawn as promised. All 5 territories sent representatives. Thousands of wolves gathered to witness justice. Raven presided over it personally, not because she enjoyed it, but because this was her responsibility, her duty as celestial heir, to prove that power came with accountability. That authority meant justice, not domination. Elder Silas, Elder Marcus, Elder Victoria, Elder Thomas, who'd been captured trying to flee to human lands. All 4 faced their crimes publicly. All 4 were given a chance to speak. Only Victoria tried to justify their actions. The others simply accepted their fate. When it was over, when justice had been served, Raven addressed the assembled wolves. For 24 years, these wolves ruled through fear and lies. They murdered my parents because they believed in cooperation. They suppressed my celestial mark because they feared what it represented: unity, justice, accountability. Her voice carried across the gathering. Those days are over. From now on, the 5 territories will be truly united. We will cooperate instead of compete. We will share resources instead of hoarding them. We will lead with justice instead of ruling with power. And anyone, she continued, her eyes blazing silver, anyone who thinks they can return to the old ways, anyone who thinks domination is more important than unity, anyone who believes power excuses crimes, know this. I am celestial marked. I am your rightful ruler, and I will not tolerate betrayal, abuse, or the oppression of those deemed less powerful. The gathered wolves howled their approval, not out of fear, out of hope. 3 months later, Raven stood in the rebuilt council chamber, renamed the Hall of Unity, with Kale at her side and wolves from all 5 territories present. The new council is formed, she announced. Representatives from each territory, chosen by their packs, not appointed by force. With limited terms and oversight to prevent corruption, she looked at the 7 wolves who'd been elected. Your job is to help me lead, to bring me concerns, to keep me accountable. Not to rule over others, but to serve them. Yes, celestial ruler, they answered in unison. Raven winced at the title. She'd tried to get them to just call her Raven, failed spectacularly. After the ceremony, she escaped to the same ridge where she'd stood before the confrontation. Kale found her there, as she'd known he would. You're doing well, he said. The territories are stabilizing. Packs are adjusting to unified rule. Trade is improving. Conflicts are being resolved through mediation instead of war. I'm terrified I'm going to mess it up. Raven's admission came out quiet. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail them the way the council did? Then you'll have people to call you on it. That's what the new council is for. That's what I'm for. Kale bumped her shoulder gently. You're not doing this alone. You have support, advice, wolves who genuinely want you to succeed. My parents believed they could create something better. They died for that belief, and you're making it real. You're building what they envisioned. That's not failure. That's legacy. Kale smiled. They'd be so proud of you. Raven felt tears prick her eyes. She'd never known her parents, but she knew their vision, their hope. their belief that wolves could be better than territorial animals fighting over scraps, and she was going to make that belief reality. 2 years after reclaiming her throne, Raven stood in the Hall of Unity during the annual gathering. Representatives from all 5 territories from every pack, from packs that had been enemies for generations, all of them standing together. Trade agreements were signed, territory disputes resolved peacefully, resources shared equitably. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still wolves who resisted change, but it was better, demonstrably, measurably better. The council wanted to keep me ordinary because they feared unity, Raven said during her address. They suppressed my mark because the celestial symbol represents cooperation over competition. They murdered my parents because change threatened their power. She paused. But here we stand, united, stronger together than we ever were divided. This is what they feared. This is why they tried so hard to keep me weak. And this, she continued, her celestial mark glowing bright enough for everyone to see, is why they failed. Because truth is stronger than lies. Because justice is more powerful than stolen authority. Because no matter how hard you try to suppress someone's true nature, eventually, it will emerge. The gathered wolves howled. Raven felt the sound resonate through her chest, through her mark, through the pack bonds that now connected her to thousands of wolves across 5 territories. She'd been told she was ordinary. She'd been made to believe she had no power, no value, no worth. They'd been wrong. She was celestial marked. She was her parents' daughter. She was the rightful ruler who'd reclaimed her throne. And she was exactly what the 5 territories needed. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free and it helps more people hear these stories.